Another reason why is because Darius Slayton. There's no more pressure on him to be number one. For the first time in his NFL career, he's on a team with the legit number one that he doesn't have to worry about trying to be that number one. He's always had to be forced into that role. We've talked about Darius Slayton since we started this podcast, about the Giants kind of did him dirty. As much as they talk about Daniel Jones got done dirty, Darius Slayton got done dirty.
He got the dirtiest done.
The best late round draft pick, the day 3 draft pick we've had, probably since Ahmad Bradshaw. And we keep forcing him into that number one wide receiver role. And it's too much for him. It's not where he needs to be. He's not that good. And that's not an insult when I say it that way. He's not a number one wide receiver. What he is, though,
definitely not going to pay like number one, and they expect him to do number one.
But what he is, though, is a good 2 or 3.
Yeah.
And to get a good 2 out of 3, what is it, the 5th round draft pick originally at that point, like 6 years ago? Yeah. That's a good spot to get him at. And last year, 17 games, 13 starts, 50 receptions, 770 yards, and 4 touchdowns. Every single one of his years in the NFL, except one, he's been around 700 to the high 7s at that point in yards. It's always been a 7 at that first number, except for 1 year. So you can imagine what I'm expecting from Darius Slayton this year.
7 something.
It's going to start with a 7. As
it's about to say, huh.
Good got it. It's going to be a 7. And I think that's reasonable to expect. I really do. I think that's a reasonable expectation because he has a history. He's got a track record of doing that. And I'll say this:
that team's number one.
And I'll say this as well. Because Mark asked the question, guys, do you think Slayton is gone? I don't think so. Darius Slayton is that guy that I swear the Giants as an organization, the fan base as a whole, have undercounted and disrespected him to a certain degree. Because how many times has he been out and he just comes right back in and does his thing? The first year with Dable was a classic example. In 22, he was barely playing in the beginning. Ends up with 724 yards. Ends up our top receiver. And
did they have
reason, it's almost like this new regime when they came in didn't want him.
Yeah, the first game against the Carolina Panthers, I think he had 3 snaps. Then he was like a healthy scratch. Game 2, then he had 4 catches, but he had 4 targets, 3 catches or something like that. Game 3, and they just moved up every which way.
Yeah.
May not be perfectly, but it was about something like that.
So after week 4 of the 22 season, guess what his stat line was? Take a wild step.
He had
4 weeks into the season.
He had 87 yards.
Try a lot less. He had 1 catch for 11 yards.
Oh, okay. Way off.
And that was in week 4. That's all he had through 4 games there. That's it. Now, he also counted as playing in 16 games. He had 3 snaps the last week against the Eagles. He had 4 snaps in week 2 against the Panthers. 14 snaps in week 3 against Dallas. That's it. He had under 40 snaps week 4, week 5. Didn't hit 50 snaps in a game until week 9. And still did 724 yards in the season. Like I said, this is a guy that has been underrated and underappreciated. And I say by Giants fans as well, because I feel like he got lambasted every time he's dropped the ball. And I get it.
I mean,
he doesn't have.
We've done it too.
He doesn't. We have. because it's
We've got-
annoying. It's annoying as all hell. Because he and this is where I want people to remember as well, partially as far as the pros on on Daniel Jones. He threw sometimes some perfect damn balls to Darius Slayton, deep throws, and he would just drop them.
Right in the numbers.
Yes, like as perfect as you could have thrown the ball. So, but again, he's a 5th round pick. He's not a number 1 wide receiver. He's going to have issues. This is why he wasn't a 1st round pick. This is why he's not a number 1 wide receiver. Don't put expectations that you can't expect of him. You know?
Just not fair.
You wouldn't put a pig in a dog show expected to win.
I mean, maybe. Is it Charlotte?
Yeah, I guess it depends of the rules.
Yeah.
Wasn't Charlotte was the spider, wasn't it?
Yes, it's
Not
Charlotte's
pig.
Web.
The pig was not. The pig was not Charlotte. I'm just saying, as a whole, I think people got to recognize that. Respect Slayton for what he is, for what he's done. And like I said, he's going to probably continue doing it because that's what he's got a history of doing. Until he stops doing it, I'm expecting 700 some odd yards a season from him every year.
Yeah, that ballpark is 700.
That's what he does.
That's it.
That's what he does.
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.